Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Are all of them on?
Everything's on.
Well, we have a special episode today. We have all of the Tinas.
Yeah. Not all of them. 2 are at school.
2 are at school. Welcome to the Dave and Dave Show, episode 54.
Your age.
Right on time. So, this is Angela Tina, my wife. Not to be confused with his wife, or not my sister, or your daughter. This
And
is
all
how
that confusion.
people just get confused all the time. Because when you show houses, it's always, what?
Yeah. Well, it's, oh, are you like the Tina? And I'm like, I have to make sure that they know I'm your wife, not his wife.
They're not like a long lost
Which-
sister.
And then they'll just call me Tina. And I'm
And-
like,
right,
but you know
exactly.
my last name
Yeah.
is Tina. Like,
Because
my first
you're
name's
Angela
Right.
Tina.
And then I say, she's 30 something. I'm 60 something.
You don't even know how old I am.
I do know how old you are.
How old is she?
32.
Oh.
Wow,
Be
impressive.
33 on December 26th.
1886.
And it'll be my best year ever.
Do you
That's
think
my favorite.
I am a date man? I know dates, ages, everything. And I say, what a dirty old man I would be if she was my wife, because
You're
there's
more than double her age.
yes.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Let's just do a roll call. 67,
I didn't say that.
41, 32. Okay, now that we got that under control,
I didn't ask for that.
we're going to talk numbers. And we already got into a pre-argument on whether this is allowed or not. This is just behind the scenes. Him yelling at me saying this isn't a big deal. So let's do a disclaimer. Will that make you feel better, a disclaimer?
Yeah.
So I wrote our realtor's worth 6%. Now, 6% is not the number.
Mhm.
It's
That's
not a
attached.
standard.
It's
Yeah.
not a standard, because that's antitrust, right? When you price fix. But over the years, people have felt that that's been the number. The irony is the average percentage will vary. It's been 5.75, it's been 6.25, it's been as low as 5.25. It goes all over the place, right?
Mhm.
So when I say a realtor's worth 6%, I'm just throwing that out there.
I agree.
Because what would be the difference of, is an attorney worth $500 an hour? Okay?
You're just giving it as an example.
Right.
Thank you.
It's an example.
I'm trying to make him happy.
I know.
So he doesn't.
You'll never make me happy, so don't even try.
That is the truth. Although this face makes you happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her face makes me happier though.
True. So let's talk about it. Our realtor's worth 6%. Let's start with you.
I think
He's already, I can feel him hyperventilating.
I
on
think
this.
that any fee is determined by the value that the realtor offers you.
Fantastic answer.
Ah, it's such a cop-out. It's such a wimpy answer. How about
It's true,
you,
though.
love?
I think that most agents are not.
Ah, I see. That's why she's my soulmate.
But, well, I mean, how many realtors are there in the valley?
There's about 15,000 Las Vegas realtors, 18,000 Nevada realtors. There's about 1.5 million realtors nationally.
Yeah, which actually doesn't seem like a lot nationally.
On average,
If you look at like the total population.
Well, when
one
you
person knows 8 realtors on average.
Right. And when you look at the small states, that's why it's actually 1.35 million if you want to be your NAO.
I feel like Las Vegas though. Yes, please. Just kidding.
So funny. I like 4 cups of coffee.
No,
It's
I feel
really
like
ecstasy.
Stop it. It's like a little ecstasy pill. No, I feel like Las Vegas though, and maybe it's just because this is the only thing I'm familiar with, but I feel like there's more agents like here than there are in other bigger cities. Is that true? Or no?
Arizona has like
40,000.
40,000.
But there's more
But like
people.
places like New York and LA and Dallas and those kind of places, are we kind of like, do we have
Well,
more?
Long Island is like the second biggest, third
There's also
association.
a ton of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me reframe this question because I'm not getting the answers that I want.
I knew that.
I said no.
True.
I said most.
what does a realtor that would make 6 or 7% or 3? Because really the way it works, let's just preface it with this. A lot of people don't understand how this works, and there's actually a tremendous lawsuit out there right now on who should pay what. But the way it currently works is this: the seller of the home pays the full amount of the commission. So in this scenario that we're giving you, it's a 6% total commission, 3% goes to the listing agent, 3% goes to the agent that brings the buyer. Now so basically realtors are working for 2.5, 3.5, 3, 2, 1. So people work for 1. It's all over the board, and as well it should be, in the purest form of capitalism. Right? So that's how it works. People get confused. Now, buyers, you are paying for it because it's coming out of the seller's pocket and determines how much you're buying for the house, right? So there's a cost. What I want to get to the bottom of is, what's the difference? I use the attorney adjective all the time, or the example. Mm-hmm. There's $99 an hour attorneys, and I've seen attorneys that are as high as $800 an hour, right? There are realtors that advertise 1% listings, which is not truly a 1%. It's only 1% on one side. They're usually offering 2 to 3%, so it's usually a 4% listing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's across the board. Mm-hmm. So in my personal opinion, and then I'll set the plate or the table for both of you. My personal opinion is 80 to 90% of realtors fall in the category of low-cost facilitators.
Yes.
And what does a low-cost facilitator look like? It's a door opener, right? They're just putting 2 people together. Mm-hmm. I think the very small minority are true high-value advisors, consultants, if you will. And as we navigate into the future, there's going to be an even harder line of demarcation between the low-cost facilitators and the high-value trusted advisor consultants. Is that fair?
And I think there's always going to be a marketplace for both.
I agree.
100%.
But you got to know what you are. And I think, and it also has to line up, because it doesn't always line up, right? You don't want someone who thinks that they're a high-value trusted advisor or consultant charging 6, 7, 8% when really they're a low-cost facilitator. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. There's plenty of agents out there
that are get beat down.
That are giving, and they don't know what they're worth.
And they're giving phenomenal service.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
you got to know which way you're on both sides.
Exactly. And where I'm going with this is, I came out of retirement. I joke. Angie does all of our personal real estate. I advise, right? I help you on the back end. But for one friend that came out of retirement and did it for him a couple of years ago, very smart friend of mine. He's an author, he's a consultant, he does big trades on the stock market, and he's a very intuitive, introspective guy, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And when we were done, and I'm not trying to just give myself kudos, he made a great point. He said, Dave, I believe that Zillow and those types of services, the service that they give is better than 80% of realtors out there. Their follow-up on emails, just mm-hmm. the way, even though they're not technically realtors, just the way they provide information and content to the public.
Yes and no, because they keep houses that are no longer available, and it looks like it is, to create a...
But just on consistency.
Yeah, and of course, computer generated and answering questions, they do.
Yeah.
He said, but the knowledge you gave me, mm-hmm. He bought a new home and he sold his own home. Mm-hmm. His own home was a very difficult price range. It was right in that 450 range. It was in an area that was declining. He was buying in an area that was appreciating. Mm-hmm. But even on the new home, he thought that was going to be a walk in the park. It was not.
Normally, sometimes those are the most difficult transactions.
Exactly, because you have to know that the sweet lady or man that's sitting there, as nice as they are to you, they represent the builder. That's just the bottom line. And then you read through the contract, the builder has the right to change anything and whatever they want at any time.
Totally.
Yeah, and they don't tell you that they gave the last person that walked in $30,000 in free upgrades.
Things like
And the
that.
only way that you know that is your realtor knows it.
You don't know how to negotiate the deal. You don't even realize that's on the table. It's
Right.
like walking into an Apple store and figuring out, wow, I could have offered less.
Right.
And she's amazing. Ange's probably the most, I don't want to say cutthroat negotiator, but you are a stone-faced negotiator. I mean, trust me. I know, right? So I digress. So he didn't realize how hard the new home was going to be. He kind of knew how hard it was going to be to sell his own house, which was, both were very difficult, and it took more than institutional knowledge. It took things that national companies may not know. Really understanding the local market, really understanding what you can get on both ends. And he gave me the best compliment at the end of the transaction. He said, "You gave me such high level service compared to any normal realtor out there, or let's say like a Zillow open door situation like that."
I went and opened that door in that house.
You did. And what I'm saying is, I feel very strongly that there has to be a commitment, one way or another, on where you want to go forward. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Like, for instance, what would you be charging nowadays?
I would charge what I'm worth, top dollar. I'm not gonna say a percent.
What?
All right, so this is what no one says.
No, I have some stuff. That's
All right, and I'm going to let you follow this. So I did this great thing I listened to this great speaker in my CEO group, right? And he said, this is what people in their industry do not do, and what people are craving. When you go to a restaurant, this is my going to be a story. When you go to a restaurant, you know where I'm going with this because I think you remember. And you're ordering off a menu. There's a menu. There's the food and the prices. What are two things on the menu or offered to you that you're unlikely to order because you don't know what the price is?
Specials.
Specials, absolutely. So the special of the day when
They always talk about the special and they don't go.
We have-
and that veal chop will be $99.
Yeah.
$99.
It's the market
Right.
price.
so market price is the other one, right? Or
Yeah.
that per pound on
Crab legs.
crab legs,
Crab
and you're
legs,
like,
yeah.
how many pounds is it going to be? Are they weighing the actual eggs, or is it just the meat, right?
Mhm.
So people are very hesitant to order things they don't know the price of,
Great point.
right? This
Yeah.
is his point completely.
Unless it's me when I say, well, how much is that special when they.
Now most people aren't like you though. Why don't they ask how much it is?
I don't know. 'Cause they don't want to. I don't know.
They're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed,
Yeah.
and they don't want to. So if I
They
say
want to be cheap.
cheap,
Yeah.
exactly. So if I'm like, the surf and turf is going to be $78, and you go, oh, okay, I'm not interested. What are you basically saying?
It's too much.
It's too much, and no one wants to be in that position.
But a good server, when they do the specials, they say the price after they describe it.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And they'll say market price is X amount of dollars, right?
Mhm.
Why don't realtors do that? Because so in my CEO group, there was an attorney, and the attorney was like, it would never work in my business.
Mhm.
So the guy was like, well, explain to me why. He's like, well, if you do business with us before, it's one price. If it's going to be an X amount of hours, it's going to be another price.
Minimum.
If it's going to be like this, it's going to be another price. And he goes through this whole explanation
Of how the fees vary.
of how the fees vary.
Mm-hmm.
And we all looked at him and we were like, that's exactly how you should do the video and explain it. Right? Because when you're in the living room and you're on the phone and you're explaining what you're going to charge somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically disclosing that same exact thing.
That's what I would do.
So
I
why
would
wouldn't
say-
you do it? So I would say, okay, this is going to be a very hard sale. I'm going to have to spend a lot of money on marketing this property. It's going to probably take 3 to 6 months. It's going to be a 6% listing on this. Or because you're selling and buying, I'm going to do, you're going to pay me 3% on the buy, and I'm going to give you a break on the sale. Right? Or because you're my friend, I'm going to credit you back X amount of dollars. Or because you're doing 5 deals in 1 year with me, I'm going to be able to give you a bulk package. Like, these are things people are so afraid to say right here
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Where I think the market is craving that because they're so unsure.
Of what it even entails.
And what do people want to avoid more than anything? Uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
Mhm.
So what do you think about that? Do you think that's somebody who's worth the dollars when you're putting everything out front?
Yeah, I do, and I feel like it's, if you can, I mean, I don't even have a standard like what I charge, because it really depends. It depends on, some clients refer me a ton of business, and
Yep.
Because of that, I'm able to give them extra credits. There's some deals where it's like, look, I know that this house is gonna sell in 3 days, and all I gotta do is put it on the market, and I don't have to, put it in magazines and get a website and do all of this other marketing that costs me money. I think the most frustrating thing for me as an agent, and I know most agents can relate to this, especially full-time agents, is that when you have another agent on the other side that's sometimes getting more than you or the same as you, and they have absolutely no clue what they're doing, that is like extremely frustrating, because then that person that knows, that has the experience, carries the transaction, and you're doing it for what that person's getting a paycheck for, and they might be calling you and being like, how do you write the contract, or how do you write this addendum, and you're like,
I'm cool with that.
how are you getting paid if you don't even know how to do this paperwork?
I'm cool with that. I heard a long, long time ago, I don't know if it was you, it was somebody, who said go into every transaction as a realtor expecting to do both sides of the deal.
Oh yeah, and I think it happens more times than not, because somebody has to hire their friend or.
So wouldn't I say to you
their
though,
uncle.
if you're gonna charge 6, whatever, right? Aren't you more likely to earn your commission if your client knows that you're gonna carry the other side? That's
Yeah.
one way to be a point of difference. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally.
What are some other ways to I always screw this word up. Differentiate between a high trusted advisor / consultant versus a low cost facilitator? What do you have to be
I know
to
one.
be a high trusted advisor?
First, most everything is know the market you're in.
Could not agree more.
That is-
Go deeper with that though. Explain your knowledge on Red Rock, for instance. Red Rock Country Club, you lives in there now. You've had 8 houses in there.
Right.
You made a lot of money in there. Member of the clubhouse.
So you need to know, if someone came up to me and said, well, how's Red Rock doing right now? It's a very popular question.
Yep.
I go, there's 44 houses for sale, there's 10 in escrow in the last 6 months. 43 have sold from 625 to 1.9 million right now. The listings go from 4 million down to 650, not on the golf course, smallest model. The smallest model in there is 2160, and then you go to customs that go anywhere from 8 to 10,000 square foot, and that's how I describe it. These blocks are double gated.
How about differences between east-west gate?
The 2 golf courses, which fairways, which houses get hit by
Balls, which
don't.
which in the CCNRs you could discuss that, but the reality it says is you live on a golf course and if golf balls hit
absolutely.
you, can you tell if there's no ball holes or if you're a golfer? We moved into a house, or I did, and I didn't know that I'd get hit 100 times.
It was like Beirut.
In a year, and that I couldn't use my pool. I learned it, but be an expert in the field, which I feel that I went in an open house on Sunday just to go in, and I said, this is the next house that's gonna sell, and the agent sitting it started laughing. She said, we got an offer this morning. So when you know your inventory on price and condition, and you can make a statement as bold as that, that's when you know your market.
Totally.
And so that's the micro market. So that's your farm. That's where you know it inside and out. But
Right.
you could extrapolate that out to Summerlin.
Absolutely.
But you know that. I mean, to the point where he could tell you, so could I, to a degree, but not as good as him. What model, right? So like 3103 Acatillo, which fascia? Well, no, what is it called?
Elevation.
Exterior
Elevation.
yeah.
Fascia. I just like saying it.
Yeah.
Which golf course it's on, which side, if they bought the extra land, the difference of how much it's going to cost if it is original upgrades or updated.
Right.
I mean, that is something that no estimate can compete with. You know what I mean? That is knowledge that people will pay big money for, because you could screw it up so bad, you could underprice your home so bad in there or overprice it so much that you're losing money both
Well,
ways.
let's take my next door neighbor. His house has been on the market coming 2 years now. They left New Year's Eve 2 years ago. This New Year's Eve will be 2 years. And it's been listed with Purple Brick, who
Yeah.
they're no longer in business, and then a pretty top agent. But the mistake agents make is they let the seller intimidate them to pricing a house of the price they think it's worth versus the value that you prove by showing them what the other house is sold. And it's interesting that I don't go to the doctor and say, you know, doc, I know what's wrong with my heart. I know this because I don't have a license to be a doctor. Yet people will sit there and go, oh, I know what it's worth. I know the value. And you know what? They don't.
Yeah, there was
They
a
don't, 'cause-
great example. There's a great saying that trying to say how much your own house is worth is akin to going on the WebMD and self-diagnosing
Right.
yourself.
Oh,
Which is basically-
Dave knows a lot about
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I have
lot
a block
about
on
that.
WebMD. It's not allowed.
No.
So knowing your market inside and out, knowing the trends, because it's not just that. You got to know, like we talk about every single time we're on here, where are you at with the average, the median price, how long houses are staying in the market, what the inventory is, and then the micro markets. He's telling you how many houses are on the market out of, 1,100 houses in there, right? So 44 houses, that's less than 4% of the markets on there. Are things moving fast? You gotta know your micro markets, you gotta know what's going on. Plus there is, Applied Analysis does some great stats that I pushed really hard when I was president to bring them in. They even break the markets down to over 1 million, from 500 to 1 million, because houses may be selling within 30 days,
Depending on the price.
on the price.
Point, yeah.
Whereas what happens over 1 million?
And they still are.
Over 12 months on average, houses over $1 million sit. So you gotta have these micro statistics ready to go. So knowing your market inside and out. Okay,
I
What
would
else?
say a big thing
to be a high trusted advisor.
is to be able to say, you know what, this isn't the right house for you. Because
I love it.
so many people, so many realtors, I feel like, just to get the sale, they're going to do everything they can to sell that house or this house is better than that house, just because they just want to get the transaction.
Profits over
And
purpose.
you have to be willing to sacrifice everything you're getting paid, because you don't get paid until it closes, to say, you know what, this one is not the right fit for you because of this reason, and we will find the right house, but this one isn't the right house. And I deal with that all the time. You know what I mean? And sometimes it sucks, and then it's also the opposite, and sometimes it doesn't work out in your favor. But there's also situations, which I just had recently, where I knew this house was the one for this person. Like, I knew it was the one for the buyer. They knew it too, but they could not wrap their head around little things that we could have obviously gotten past. And he regretted it after he canceled, after 3 days. And it was like,
So knowing when to nudge and when to pull them away.
right, exactly.
But you could do that when you have people's best interests at heart. I mean, what's your
Right.
famous saying with this?
What? I don't know. You threw me out of what? With what?
Treat your clients like how?
Like family?
Like
Yeah.
Aunt Donna, like my sister Donna, that's your sister Donna. Like, he loves her, he takes care of her. If she's gonna buy a house, you're gonna tell her whether or not she should buy it. I mean, my buddy
I'm
Dave,
gonna be brutally honest.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
ready to buy a house, and we looked at a bunch of stuff, and the one came, and I was able to leverage everyone I knew and get him the house, and I was like, Dave, you love me and trust me, this is the one, go now. And he
Wow.
did, and he made a ton of money, and things worked
Right.
out.
And you really have to be close to that person to do that, because there's a lot of times that they feel it's the house and you can't talk them out of it. A classic example, I'm walking around with 70-year-olds and they're looking at 2 stories. And I'm trying to tell them, within 5 years, you may not be able to climb the stairs that you're looking at. So I tell them, are you sure about a 2-story? Do you really think it's the smart move? At our age, I throw myself in, a 2-story with an empty nest may not be the most brilliant move
Right.
to do. So I do give the advice, but if they say to me, I'm a 2-story person and I'm gonna live in it, I just go, okay, but I gave you the trusted advisor advice. And
Right.
then you have to learn that if they don't wanna take that advice, that 2 years later, they're gonna call you up and say, I'm not gonna live in this house anymore.
Right.
Integrity costs you short-term money,
Mhm.
Right.
but it makes you long-term money
Long-term.
all day.
And that client that I'm talking about, that is a friend in Red Rock, has now said to me, I only want a 1-story, you were right, my husband's 78, I'm 70, you know, so they
Right.
then referred back to the showings to say to me, you're right, I want a big 1-story.
Well, we have friends who want to live in our neighborhood, and there's a great house on the market that, from pictures, it looks like it's good enough, but it really needs to be gutted. And they want to do to it, they want to gut it, they're going to put some real money into it, right?
Oh yeah.
And if they're not our friends, like, they would feel like maybe they don't have that trust level, right? That they don't have that consultant. But the conversation was like, listen, you got a great house now, it's at 125. Let's see what it goes down to. It already went down to 1175. But even then, even if it sells for $1,050,000 or 1.1, it only makes sense for him at $1 million because he's going to put so much money into it. But having the trust in the conversation to be like, listen, you can't even look at this house unless it drops all the way down, right? Then we come in where you start negotiating the deal and planting the seeds of, like, anyone who buys this house is going to have to gut it. So you're not going to get the money that it's
Right.
worth.
Mhm.
That is consultant level work.
Right.
Right.
Like, don't touch it. Like, being able to be like, I don't want to get paid because this isn't the right move to you because you're going to have to put
Or say,
500,000
don't
into
go
it.
ahead if you're going cash, write $1 million cash and walk away if it doesn't get it.
Exactly. But
Because you never know, especially on the high end, you gap these houses and you see, like, one person I know, acquaintance listed with somebody, and they listed at 800,000 for a 2,600 square foot 1-story on the golf course. And then they left, they moved to Idaho, and then it went to 750, and it closed yesterday for 675. So that's a good price for Westgate,
yeah.
1-story
Oh,
on
yeah.
the golf course, 675. So my other answer is to say to people with cash, this was a cash 10-day close, you could afford to make offers that may seem ridiculous, because these people were in Idaho,
Yes.
they wanted to get rid of the house. This is what you learn negotiating wise when you're that trusted advisor.
But there's 3 things that go into that. One, you knowing your product, you knowing your market, you knowing your strategy.
And you know your client.
And you know your client.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
That's, and
Yeah.
how many transactions percentage do you think this is occurring on?
What that people
Are doing what we just said.
A very probably small.
I would say that,
Here comes the optimist. You ready?
I would say that
Normally I'm the
agents are smarter than we give them credit for, and I would say I wish the buyers knew right now that they should be buying a house.
Yeah.
That's, I look today.
But it's micro situations, right? So the third,
Well, we're in it right
the
now.
third part, it depends on the house, just like it depends on the person. The third part of it, which plays into this, part of that market knowledge is knowing your inventory and comps. Like the comps in Red Rock versus the comps in Willow Creek versus the comps in Portofino are different games altogether. You got something for 350, something for 800, something for $1.5 million.
Right, but yet we
Different
could tell
games.
good prices on all 3 and say, wow, this is a great price, you need to buy that house, so whether it's in Portofino, in Willow Creek, or Red Rock, or the condos across the
But
street.
these are the micro differences. Corner lot, which ones, some in Portofino are literally backing the Beltway. So you gotta go into them and say, there's
What a
nothing,
nice view.
there's nothing wrong, and that's what that's what a bad realtor would
Oh,
say,
get this up.
right? So a true good realtor would say to you, listen, most people are not gonna wanna live backing the Beltway. When you call me to resell this is gonna be an issue. So we better get this for a price that reflects
Right.
backing the Beltway. Because
I
you may
remember
love
I
it, but most
sold,
people
I
won't.
sold a KB home that backed the Beltway, and the Beltway wasn't built. And the woman's going,
No, wasn't it Summerlin Parkway?
It was Beltway, and they said, "Oh my God, what a view!" And I'm going, "Yeah, you know why you have the view and what's going on? You see that hole? Look over the wall. That hole is the Beltway."
But on the flip side, if the comps in the neighborhood are 350, and you can get this house because no one wants it at 300, right? Now it's a different game.
Of course
Oh,
it is.
absolutely. And
Right.
sometimes that's what you people need to get into that community that they want and
Right.
things like that, you know.
Of
But if
course.
you're getting it on the discount when you sell it,
Yeah.
Some people like back in the
take
street.
a break for a second. So for you Facebook Live people, we are taking a break for our videographers. So how much time we need? We're good? All right, let's jump back in. So we've established what high trusted advisor consultants are. So we've touched upon that, right? Is there anything wrong with a low cost facilitator?
No, in some deals there's not.
And my answer is, as long as you know what you're getting for the price you're paying, no.
Mhm.
But
And-
understand, you will not get the service that you're getting for that.
And
High-
sometimes
higher cost.
that advisor might get that sale eventually because that facilitator can't get the deal done in the first place. There's been so many situations where I go into a listing appointment and I'm like, look, this is what I charge, this is what I do. But because somebody else is cutting them, you know, on commission so bad, they're like, well, I have to go with this person. I'm like, great, because when it
Yeah.
doesn't sell, I hope you come back to me. You know what I mean? So sometimes they do sell and it's great. They save money and it's a great situation for them. But I do think that there's always going to be that clientele that wants somebody that can do just the basics.
It comes down to
you know?
value versus cost
Yeah.
in everything in life, right?
Mhm.
You know, maybe a Chanel purse for $4,000 is really overpriced, and maybe a purse for $10 is not worth it because you're gonna have to buy 20 of them because they break
Right.
every time. Like, you gotta find your sweet spot and what works. But
Mhm.
sometimes, you know, some people want the experience of going into Chanel and getting the champagne and having that whole experience.
Right.
You
It's
know?
funny because I understand that the seller wants the highest price for their property. It's the biggest sale that they're ever gonna do. That's why when I see some of them selling it wholesale with these companies, I sort of smirk and say, wow, you're giving it away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're in a largely track market. In New York, when I sold, it was one house, then another, and none of them were the same. But here,
Mhm.
you're really not gonna get much more than the other house unless a flipper came in and put 150,000 in it, then you're gonna get the higher value.
Mhm.
So when someone tells me they want 500,000 for a $400,000 comp, I go, I want hair and to lose 30 pounds. Well, I'm never gonna get hair on my head, I can lose the 30 pounds.
But you're gonna have to do a lot of work around it.
And you're
Yes.
never gonna get that price, cause why, that's why when I did it, I said, let's pretend we're the buyer. And I show them the competition and I go, who would you buy? Your own house at this price or this house? And they always buy the other house. Well, then
Mhm.
why is someone gonna come and buy your house
For more.
for more?
Yeah.
I do believe that in most cases the universe levels this stuff out. That most people will end up getting what they're worth one way or another.
I agree.
You know,
Mhm.
I agree.
I like to use the burger analogy. Like, in my old age, Angie got me off of McDonald's and all that crap when we first started.
Who put you on that stuff?
So I don't really eat fast
Single
food.
dad,
I really
Burger
don't
King
eat
works.
fast food burgers anymore, but I really like Five Guys. And of course I like In-N-Out. But I've gotten to the point where, like, Five Guys, when I walk in, it's kind of skeeving me out. And when I go to In-N-Out, everyone's clean cut. You could see, like, you could eat a burger off the floor at In-N-Out. Like, it's super simple, and you pay a little bit more, and it
I
makes
think
sense.
it's less expensive.
No, it is more. It is more.
In-N-Out, yeah.
But the flip side of, you go to a, I can't think of the name. There's like restaurants that are really nice that there's a $28 burger. I'm not really gonna, I don't see the
Like the
value,
burger I ate in Colorado.
which was delicious, but that wasn't $28 either. That was
No,
still
but that was
probably
amazing.
15.
Yeah.
like you got to figure out where your value and your cost are, and you got to deliver the service of what you think you're worth, and
Yeah.
you got to be able to come through with that. So I would love to see, and I think I really believe it's gonna happen, that technology is gonna do one great disruption. And I think the people who aren't treating this like a profession, a true profession, like you're a concierge, and you really take care of your person, you're building that trust, because trust is so important in this game. They're gonna bring down a whole segment of the industry into, I'll do this for next to nothing because I'm really not valued.
Yes, and I think we're talking about all this surface level stuff, right? That like people see, right?
Yep.
The conversations that you have with clients, but what you also don't see is all the stuff that you deal with on the back end. So some people, you know, they won't go, like for example, I was writing a letter to an attorney this morning to try to get this deal closed because it's a divorce situation and there's all of this stuff going on.
Very hairy situation.
And so it's like
there's
most
HOA
agents,
situation.
right? Most agents wouldn't even know, you know, to write the letters, to make the phone calls to the attorneys, to do all of this stuff that like the clients aren't seeing at all. So I think that also has to do with the value you can bring too. You know what I mean?
At the
All
end
stuff
of the
that you're
day,
doing on the back end.
it's humans and humans, right? And if social media is any indicator, humans cannot deal with other humans, right? It's just getting worse and worse. So that higher tech, higher touch conversation comes into play. All right, so we have beat this to a dead horse.
Yeah,
Now,
pretty
my next point is, we talked about Realtor. The future, is it a Realtor or a real estate consultant? Let's just touch upon this really quickly. Now, listen, everyone thinks because we're Dave and Dave, we own a company together, we've both been past presidents, we have very similar paths, right? That our takes on things are the same. They're not. Our morals are the same, ethics, our care, empathy, very similar. Same thing with Angie. We have very different takes. So he is, full disclosure, I'm not going to call him a company man, but he's an NAR regional vice president in 2020. So he is full on Realtor. Now I have stopped my path in that because as much as I value and see where the brand of Realtor plays in and helps, there are some things that I fundamentally disagree with, right? You have a take on this too, I know. My wife, you know, very gorgeous woman, you'd think that she's not just a pretty face, she could be very cutting. She's gonna give her opinion, I know where she's gonna go with this. Do you feel like it is a devalued brand? There's so many realtors that were stuck in this huge pool together that even though the truest sense of being a realtor is a code of ethics and being above the fray, that the fact that there's so many and it's so easy that it's pulling it down. Because personally, at this point, I'd rather be a real estate consultant, a professional, high trusted advisor, rather than a realtor. So give me the other side.
My answer to you is this: in any business that I have been in, there's always been the top person in it, and then the one that just slides by. So to say it's exclusive to real estate would be a bad analogy.
False equivalency. I'm not saying it's exclusive to real estate.
Okay.
I'm saying let's stick to what we're dealing with.
There is good and there are realtors that I'd love to work with every day, all the time. And then there's some that are so slimy the oil would be across the path they're walking.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be considered a trusted advisor. And the irony of it is that a realtor is judged by the success that they have rather than the quality of the transaction.
Good point.
Of what they are. And that's today's society, where you should be judged, she did 80 deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did 80 transactions, but how many of them were ethical, honest, and that person would use them
how they
again.
did it rather than what they did.
Right, not, oh, look, there's a superstar. No, you could do 10 transactions and be an honest, trusted advisor, and that's the person I would want not the number of transactions you did badly.
Mhm.
And
So-
that's where we do agree, because my
Right.
whole saying is, it's not whether or not people sell their soul anymore, it's how much of their soul they're willing to sell.
Right.
Now, your take on this, because I know you get super passionate about this. Tell me your frustrations, like when you start seeing everyone around you say,
I'm gonna be an agent.
I'm getting my license.
I'm like, great.
And it's not a knock on like a scarcity, or because
No.
you're gonna do well regardless.
It's not. I feel like it's sometimes I take almost offense,
Yeah.
right? Because I say, okay, like it's so easy to get your license. And I mean, I got my license when I was 19, and it was easy for me to get my license and hop into the market and, you know, become like a top producer fairly quickly because I did, you know,
The work.
I did the work and I found it just worked out. But I feel like now that I've been in this business 13 years, I feel like it's way too easy
Yeah.
to get a license. The fact that you can go cut hair and you have to have 3 times as many hours to cut somebody's hair than you do to deal with this huge investment of their life is just insane to me. And then as far as the ethics and just like the persona I think that a lot of realtors give off, sometimes I'm embarrassed to say I'm a realtor. You know what I mean? Or I feel like, you know, I don't want to be that salesy person. I want to be the consultant. I want to be the advisor.
The perception of a realtor
Right.
in movies or shows
Yeah,
is
it's
that
like-
obnoxious person.
Even the show I was watching yesterday,
Yeah.
Working Moms, you know, the realtor's a complete train wreck and she's outside and she's like a drunk and I'm like, okay, is that like
What people
for
think.
real? You know what I mean? And then I think the fees to get the license are too cheap. You know what I mean? I don't know. And then as far as everybody getting into the market, like I have real honest conversations with a lot of my friends that are like, hey, I'm going to get my license. I'm going to do this because I think they see the success of a lot of agents and they're like, this is so easy. This is so great. Like, how
Yeah.
hard can this be? And I'm like, I know how hard it is. Like, and I'm a mom and I deal with all of this. And so I think that just sometimes gets.
Well, it's like the overnight success thing, right? It's never overnight. No one ever sees the work you got to put in. No, you know,
Right.
even with they discount what we did, all of us, to create Urban Nest.
And how
you
many
know,
years experience
They
we
don't
have
see
combined.
40 years and 20 years in Long Island and 20 years here. They don't see me slinging loans for 6 years and following him around my entire life. They don't see you working at 19 years old,
On the
So-
phone with 5 different banks trying to negotiate
do short sales, sucking it
You know
up as a team member for a very difficult team lead and like putting in your time. Like, they think it's just easy. Now, but on the other, I'm going to take his position on this. We call it the chip in the chair, right? So in poker, is if you just have one chip and a chair, you have a chance to double up and double up and double up, right? So you could easily say, you would have never had this opportunity
Mhm.
if it was very difficult at 19.
Sure.
He would have never had this opportunity as a full-time fireman and a part-time realtor. And we could also say that the 90% of realtors who aren't doing it at that high trusted value advisor, they're actually giving you all of us an amazing opportunity to set ourselves apart,
Right.
right? Because the problem is that we are all lumped together. And that's where it's like we have to work twice as hard to separate ourselves from that person.
Yeah.
Because when I was president and I would induct all these new agents, and there would be like 200 new agents per month getting their license at the association. You did it, right? You did the induction.
I did it.
I say to them, listen,
But in my years, there weren't 200.
There weren't 200.
Because my 13, where I was president, was a horrible year for realtors because the market wasn't good. So I was lucky if I was, some months we didn't even have induction because of the fact
in
that,
some months I had to do 2
right.
because there were 300 or 400 people.
What a
This market was
difference.
better.
And we
Yeah.
didn't have a big enough room to do it. But I'd be looking at all these people, and I'd say, listen, now, because you have to do a whole, you have to put up your right hand, it's a whole process and ceremony to be a realtor. And I'm like, now you are married to the association. That's how I would joke. But I'd say, here's the reality. The person in this room that is the worst realtor is now a direct reflection of me,
Mhm.
the president of the association. Like, the worst person out there doing the slimiest thing
And that's-
is the reflection of me.
Of
So I
course,
said, now
and
you
so
have an
is the best-
obligation.
So is the best realtor out there that comes out of your class a reflection of you. It's training, where they go and how they learn, and what your parents taught you.
All right. So-
Because if your parents didn't teach you the right thing, you're not gonna learn it in real estate school.
Let's
Yeah.
finish with this. This is, the quick one was, I want to be able to put this on Facebook, like, to, whatchamacallit, promote it, so I can't curse. But just give a beep is the easiest way to set yourself apart. If you just care and you actually, that alone will set you apart.
Mhm.
So, but I want to talk about this. Do you think people trust online reviews more than they do their respected friend?
No.
Anyone could write it on. I could pay someone $20 to write it on.
I think the
online
reviews
review.
are going actually the opposite direction.
Right.
Because
Alright.
everybody, I mean, if you got 100 5-star reviews, right, it's like, okay,
But
well,
so
it's great. But,
so here's where it plays. When we're in Thailand,
Mhm.
right, we're gonna be hitting up Yelp
Mhm.
to make sure like the restaurants are good. But we're also gonna talk to the concierge at the hotel.
Yeah, and everything that JJ tells us to do, we're gonna do first.
Which
move
is
on
our-
to everybody else. You know what I mean?
Which is our kind of our points guy slash travel guy,
Yeah.
concierge. Got it. So I'm gonna put the two videographers on the spot here. You guys grown up in an area or a time where online is everything. Do you, if you're gonna go to a restaurant, you're obviously, I'm assuming you're gonna check it online with the reviews. But if you talk to a friend that says you gotta check this place out, do you trust a friend more or the review?
Friend.
Friend?
Which friend?
Good point. So,
Good question.
great
Not
point.
the guy that
Yeah.
works there wants the tips.
So great point. So this is where it gets interesting. And you did it perfectly. In New York, we used to say what?
I got a guy.
I got a guy, right? Which is basically your way to refer. But even, this is where social media plays a part where I believe is even stronger than reviews. Because what a lot of agents do is on Zillow, they go to Zillow to find it. They just get their friends, family, you name it. You could tell if it's a BS review.
Mhm.
Yelp, they do the same thing. Everyone who works at the restaurant is reviewing their own
That's
spot.
what I'm saying, so I'm not trusting of that.
Me neither. I actually trust the ones where someone says something mean and the owner responds or the manager responds in a way like, listen, Friday nights are busy, we're sorry we didn't take care of you, come back in, we'll take the hot fudge brownie sundae on us, we'll make it right. Like that goes the distance. And
That's what we did.
Right, exactly. Like if I'm in business, which we are, I love the opportunity to make it right.
Yeah.
Like I crave that because that sets you apart. But back to this, he said which friend is referring. So if you go on, let's say I want to get my teeth, I want to get veneers, and I'm like, I need the best
Yeah, you want to look at their veneers.
dentist.
I was gonna say, the guy that looks like he has chiclets, don't go
Don't
to
go
that
to
guy.
them. But also, who is commenting plays a huge part.
Mhm.
Because there's different levels of respect for each person,
Yeah.
right? So it could be one thing of Joey from the corner got a guy. You don't want that guy, right? Or you have a guy. I trust you, therefore I trust them, right? And I think, we talk about Julian, our painter, all the time. This is a shameless plug for him because I love him and he's a great guy.
And he does good work.
He does great work. Julian the painter, Julian Lovas, right,
Mhm.
Deco Plus, doesn't do a lot of advertising. But his whole business
It's word of mouth.
is word of mouth. In
Mhm.
2019, almost 2020, Julian has more business than he can handle.
Yeah.
Because he's in the right spheres of people going, use Julian, and then one person refers three person refers three each. Now he's at 9, and he compounds at this tremendously fast. He
Right.
goes vertical very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? And whereas if I go into Angie's List or Indeed or any of these places and I look for a painter, the person who spends the most money on marketing
Mm-hmm.
is probably going to pop up. Do you agree?
Totally.
Agree. And you may not get that house painted the way you want.
Not only that, if you're spending a lot of money on marketing, who's going to pay for the marketing?
You.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's kind of like, this is what I'm like with real estate. You want to be the person that your friends refer. And I believe too many people are spending more time on the next deal and marketing towards the next deal than taking care of the person that is going to refer them the thing. Because what's the hardest thing to build in business with a client? Rapport, aka trust. Now to continue on the Julian example, when I call Julian to paint my house, you tell me if you're the same. Right? Me and Angie are the same with this. Do you negotiate with Julian when he gives you a price? No. Will you give Julian all the money or most of it before he even steps foot in the house?
Yes.
Why?
I trust him.
So if someone that knows you well is listing your house, or you're listing their house, how much time do you think you're spending on how much that you're charging them? Not a lot.
Not at all.
They usually like charge me whatever you want because I trust you, right? I mean, those are the easiest transactions in the world.
Well, they don't say charge me whatever you want. I go over what I charge.
But they know you're not going to screw them.
But it's not a point of issue.
And it's going to be fair, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't put a price on trust, because you know there are painters and there are people who do. I mean, we've had situations where friends are redoing their house and people walk off the job completely.
Yes, losing hundreds, losing 50, 60, 70.
And then you got to do the work the second time, where and Julian isn't the cheapest. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and pick up 3 guys and get someone to clean to do your house. And he's not the most expensive either. He's right in a good spot. But you know he's going to come up and touch up all your stuff. He's going to clean up everything there. So I think this is part of a larger conversation. But you got to understand how it works, right? And if you really go into the psychology of it, it makes sense. I mean, even with us, right? The best compliment we ever get, and it never gets old, and I get it a lot about him. I hope he probably never gets it about me. But what I get about him, you get it a lot too from people that you show houses and you have no clue. They'll say, you know, I've worked with your dad, because the minute they hear I'm Dave Tina, they'll look at me and they're like, oh, not that Dave Tina, because I look so much younger, and we understand that. But they'll say, your dad's the best. Like, he's such a kind man. He's taking care of me. They always have a story, right? And we've heard from people in the past that when they're thinking about coming to Urban Nest or whatnot, they'll be like, we have searched far and wide and asked title people and mortgage people and other realtors, and they'll be like, they're good guys, right? Trust and rapport and consistency, you cannot purchase that.
Nope.
Right?
It's lifelong.
And that is the goal for realtors. That's how you play the ground game and you beat out the reviews. Because we're dangerously getting into that spot where people are going to put too much value on reviews. I mean, remember that show we were watching and he was joking about reviews?
No.
So I think it was Bill Maher, and he was like, enough with reviews. And he goes to Amazon, and there's a review on salt.
Yeah, and I put it on my food, and it was salty.
5 stars.
Yeah.
Like, do we really need that review?
It tasted salty.
I don't live by that, so.
I know, but you're a different generation, right? There's a episode of Black Mirror on Netflix where
crazy show.
It goes into a future, and I think China is getting like this already, and we'll wrap it up with this, where you start getting reviewed kind of like Uber. Every interaction you have with someone, they're giving you stars, and you're basically living in this world of like your social life is based on a review
that other people are giving you from everyday transactions. So like me checking out at the grocery store, like they're gonna review my appearance and if I'm nice and if I, like all these crazy things.
Well, the thing, and I didn't realize in Uber that you got rated too.
Oh yeah.
I always got to rate the driver, and then I saw something and it showed my rating. And
what's your rating?
I'm like 495.
I'm 491.
I don't even know what I am.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm the how are they gonna review me? I'm the guy paying them.
And
but they do review you.
And there's something you lose here. You lose the ability to be real. You lose the ability to connect, because if you're afraid of telling people the truth and colliding with them, then there's no real life. Right? So, yes, he's right. If I'm gonna go do something, if I'm gonna get a realtor in California, I'm calling Brooke and Mike, my buddies who live there. I'm calling a couple other people and be like, what have you heard and who do you know? Yes, am I gonna go online and try to like double fact check it and see if online is important, but I'm gonna go to the people that I respect and care about and try to get that first. So what I say to you guys out there who are not realtors, ask your friends, the ones that you respect, what to do.
Instead of just go online and find somebody random.
So we trust people more than we do reviews. So let's try it. So, okay, parting shots. Anything?
One moment.
We are at 55. You're surprised that we had so much to talk about, aren't you?
You're Kekalon anytime.
You are Kakadon.
Now you're making me feel bad
I'm
about
just
it.
kidding. I'm joking. It's good.
Can't you take Kekalon? Kekalon is not a
It's
curse.
good. Me and Pops don't have a lot of energy today. We're kind of just like.
Well, him sometimes it's like yes, so I gotta like pull it out of you.
It's your job.
All right.
What is your parting shot?
I got 3 things. They're all simple. Are we ready?
Yes.
You want to do your parting shots first or no?
My parting shot is we didn't talk about stats this week. And
Well, we have 5 minutes. You want to
and
crush it?
I just want to say on the stats, less houses are going, a large amount of houses, less are going into escrow. Inventory's dropping very little, so, and the interest rates are dropping phenomenally. So right now, with the holidays coming and the weather changing, this is like and I know you're sitting there going, oh, all realtors say this. I never say this. This is the perfect time to buy a house, get a great price, and a great interest rate with a great payment. And if my sister Donna was asking me, I would say to her, October, November, December, buy baby buy. That's my parting shot.
Excellent parting shot. And you mean when you say buy, baby, buy, B-U-Y.
Buy,
Buy.
not buy.
That's
Not
right.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Buy.
Which there's a couple of houses I have my eye on, and I'm waiting for it to get like
Yeah.
that.
Get it
It's
going.
a happening.
Yeah.
My parting shot is because the interest rates are so low, we need to refinance our house.
That was more for us.
I know, but no, other people should too. Other people should be looking into refinancing because
Yes.
they need to take advantage
Yes,
of the
you're
these
right.
rates.
Go to their mortgage broker,
Yeah.
go to their trusted advisor,
Yes.
and say to them, when is it worth me refining when the mortgage rate goes to
Right.
this? And a great trusted advisor would say, right now, no, there isn't enough money there for you to do it, but at the end of next month, if the rates stay lower, it is. So,
Yes.
Which,
You're right.
let's give a plug for Wes Friedman. I called Wes last month, and he was like, they're going to cut the Fed rate again. Don't
Don't do it
refi.
Yeah.
Wait. He actually told this to me. He said,
Yeah.
just wait. He's like, I'm not taking your money.
Yeah.
Wait. And that's what you want.
Exactly.
See why I talk so much? Refi? I'm just
Are you
messing with
kidding
you.
me? That's a great parting shot. That's
I
gonna save
totally
people thousands
agree.
of dollars.
I totally agree. It brought in the
on.
conversation of interest rates. I agree with you, Ange,
Yeah.
but we always do.
I'm going to leave you with this. Do the right thing and do the work. That's what it comes down to.
Always.
And just care. I mean, I wrote down just give a shit, but just care.
Mhm.
That will set you apart by just caring and not caring more about your commission and what it has to do with you. If you just continually add value and care, you
Yeah.
will win every time. It's not going to feel like you're winning now, but you're going to win in the long run. I learned that from you.
You bet.
And more importantly, at the end of the day, you'll be able to look at the people you love the most and in the mirror and respect the person you're looking at.
Yeah. Don't sell out.
And that's what matters. So that's all we got for you. We good? All right.